Ambassador Seidebaka brought up, the move towards government procurement of, say, fair food tomatoes, if we ever got there, would be huge, right? But on the other hand, when we talk about waiting for appropriate legislation, we don't need to wait for legislation. Corporate buyers know perfectly well how they could prevent slavery, forced labor, violent sexual harassment in the supply chain, and they don't need to wait around for legislation. With all due respect, for example, the model that we were speaking of, it's not something that's anybody should be relaxed about. These are consumers and workers who joined together and said to corporate buyers, we demand that you please do this in order to eliminate labor abuses in your supply chain. And as a result, many of people have stepped forward, but there are many who have not. And so, for example, you have Ahold, Royal Ahold, which is a Dutch company with special dispensation from the Queen, now the King in Holland, who owns Giant Supermarket and Stop and Shop in the US. Have they joined? No, they have refused to so far. Why? That is the kind of question that consumers could be asking. Everyone here in this room, Sodexo is on board. They're an international company, so it doesn't just have to be a US problem. It's woven all over. And the reason I say this is because I'm really glad Ambassador Seidebaka is here, because he was there 20 years ago with us investigating those. Well, he was prosecuting the forced labor operations that we were bringing to his attention. And back then, he was calling it ground zero for modern-day slavery, where we are. So when I say we've now reached a point where there is a program where it's not happening after 300 years of really unceasing forms of forced labor in Florida for 300 years, and now it's stopped, that's why it's a big deal. We can't wait around for corporations to wait on legislation to be drafted when there is already a market solution.
Governments can take years to pass laws and then never even enforce them. A major corporation that has the capacity to switch suppliers can make a market impact, can change the lives of millions of individuals by virtue of how they decide to source. This is extraordinarily exciting.
And until they stop viewing it as a PR problem and start viewing it as an HR problem, meaning there are people working for you who are suffering great pain, then we won't get anywhere, because CSR has to be enforceable. So you have we have prohibition against forced labor, and it's this piece of paper. Well, how are you enforcing that? And there need to be agreements with consequences and incentives that make sure that happens.